Let me introduce you to Art. He didn't want to acknowledge he had a hearing problem. Not unlike millions of others, he may have been embarrassed and seen it as a sign of weakness.
The first time I really noticed that I needed hearing aids is when my wife started yelling at me, "Turn the TV down." Since I've had the hearing aids, I find myself interacting with people much the same way I did when I was a kid. I'm more outgoing. I can understand what they're saying. That was the problem. Going to a party was just out of the question. I couldn't understand what people were saying. I had a problem at work, anticipating or understanding what my boss was saying or some of what my coworkers were saying. Riding in a car, trying to have a conversation with people in the car, the sound of the motor. I can't tell you how much I missed, and I can't tell you the difference now. And I've got these hearing aids. It's like a whole new world opened up to me. I find myself eager to meet people. I'm able to live.
It's a growing problem that affects a person's quality of life. Today, we're going to give you some guidance concerning hearing loss, hearing aids, and show you what one company is doing to help. Clinical audiologist Dr. Nimet Adam is here now to speak with us further on the consequences of untreated hearing loss.
Hearing loss affects individuals physically, emotionally, and socially. Many patients will avoid social situations because they're afraid of how they will respond to questions. And that's exactly what we don't want them to do. We don't want them avoiding social situations. We want them to partake in life and enjoy life. And so basically it's very important that hearing loss is identified, that they seek an audiologist, and they seek appropriate treatment. But it is important to understand that the ear serves to transmit sound, but it's really the brain that processes the information and allows us to understand what it is we're hearing. One of the main causes for hearing loss is noise exposure. Noise-induced hearing loss is the only type of hearing loss that's preventable. So we do encourage our patients to wear hearing protection whenever they're exposed to excessive noise. Another cause for hearing loss is the aging process, what we call presbycusis. In addition to that, any type of trauma or damage to the auditory system can cause hearing loss. An ototoxic reaction to medications would result in hearing loss. And if you have any family history, you would be predisposed to hearing loss. A basic evaluation is an audiometric test where we place the patient in a soundproof booth and we present words and tones. And from that test, we are able to identify the severity and level of their hearing loss and type of hearing loss. If the audiology suspects any type of pathology in the ear, we would do a test called emittance, and that tells us how the eardrum is moving, how the muscles are working. In addition to that, we may do a test called otoacoustic emissions, which checks the integrity of the hair cells in the inner ear, and is the same test we would perform on infants to identify hearing loss. Talking about hearing instruments is my favorite part because this is where we actually make a difference in our patients' lives. You can see that hearing instruments today can be very small and discreet or larger with more features. Today's instruments have wireless technology so that we can connect our patients to their phone, their TV, and their cell phone. In addition to that, batteries have improved immensely. We have packaging now that allows for our patients that have dexterity issues to easily remove and replace their batteries. They can feel good about disposing them. They're mercury-free and environmentally safe.
Thank you, Dr. Adam, for such useful and valuable advice. When we come back, we'll speak with someone whose hearing impairment inspired him to help others. Plus, we'll look at how one manufacturer of hearing aid batteries is reducing their carbon footprint, while at the same time keeping their batteries user-friendly and simple. Stay with us on The Best Info for Women presents Spring into Summer. Welcome back to our show. We're talking about a major public health issue that ranks third in line after arthritis and heart disease as one of the most common physical conditions. We're talking about hearing loss. Earlier, we showed the improvements in hearing aid technology and how you will be pleased if you require a hearing aid device. Equal to the progression of hearing aids is the source of the hearing aid energy, or the batteries. Joining us now is Stacy Harbour from Energizer and audiologist Dr. Barry Williams. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Marilyn. It's great to be here.
Dr. Williams, as an audiologist, I understand you also have personally been affected by hearing loss. Basically, your whole life?
I actually started when I was 4. I really don't even remember when I started. All I remember was I wore a big old box down on my chest with a cord running up to the ear, and now they've got these little bitty tiny things down inside the ear that you can barely even see. So they've come an awfully long ways in the last 50 years. The great part about it is that nowadays they're not only small, but they're so much more effective. The biggest problem most of us have is in hearing loss. It's actually understanding loss and the comprehension. And so many people either go, huh, or they smile and nod their head and act like they hear and let it go. And that's really the sign that a person should watch for, is that they're missing the understanding and comprehension of it.
So that would be an indication that you or a family member was experiencing some hearing loss.
Yeah, we do kind of become enablers. When you get to where you're repeating all the time, you start talking louder, you do things like that. But the reality is that the average person that actually comes to get rehabilitative help with hearing instruments is 7 to 10 years into hearing loss that actually should have and could have been fit. So we tend to procrastinate on those types of things with the old alibi that, oh, I get by. And the truth is, I think a lot of people, the people around them notice it long before they themselves do, because the first stage of hearing loss is denial, where I hear fine, it's you, you're not looking at me, you're not enunciating clearly, etc. And taking personal responsibility not only for the hearing loss and the communication deficit, but also taking the step to do something about it. That's the stage that we need to get to, as just kind of the common way to treat hearing loss.
Stacy, there are several different types of hearing aids and sizes. How do I know what size battery to choose?
Well, initially your audiologist will define that for you, but the hearing aid battery industry has put a couple of tools in place to really help you. So there's 4 cell sizes that are also color-coded, so those 2 things really help you figure out what you need when you get to the store.
I understand you have some new innovations in your packaging. Can you share with us what Energizer has done?
Yes, we've recently made available our Energizer Easy Turn and Lock package. We've added a graphic in the center that tells you how to use it. We spent a lot of time with consumers trying to understand what their needs were and make things simpler for them. One of the largest issues they had were the dials spinning freely and batteries falling out in their purse or their pocket and ending up losing them.
Yeah, and they're kind of small. I can see how you would lose them, absolutely.
Absolutely. And we really were trying to deliver on peace of mind for consumers, helping them sort of live the life that they once lived as these different challenges start to come into play for them.
So how else did consumer usage play a part in the development of this package?
Well, Marilyn, we spent a lot of time with consumers, watching them use the batteries and listening to what they had to say. And the key things that we learned were long tabs helped them place the batteries into the device. And let's face it, dexterity challenged users have difficulty anyway, so this helps solve for that.
That's great for the consumers. And I also noticed on the package that it says 0 mercury. I think that's awesome for the environment.
We were excited to learn from consumers that they're very concerned about the environment, and they want to do their part to create a sustainable future, particularly for their grandkids. We were the first to remove added mercury from our batteries, as well as the only manufacturer to have a 100% recyclable package.
Thank you both so much for being on our show today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It was my pleasure. And if you want to learn more, check us out on Energizer.com.
3 screen.